Hello, happy Friday. Bitcoin refusing to settle down. 95K. We'll see where the top is. We have some macro resistance. We're in that zone now. We'll see that as we zoom out. But first and foremost, let's zoom way the hell in on the 1 hour chart. So we had our downtrend from, Wednesday highs, right? And we had our topping high wick here. And then we had a lower high and a lower low. We're in a downtrend here. So diagonal trend lines, I'm not a fan of, but they can be subtle hints in shifts of momentum. That's all I would generally recommend them for. Not necessarily you break it and it's like, oh, we're getting ready to go up, even though in this case that has worked out. There's just as many, if not more cases where that doesn't work out well for you. But if you think of it just in momentum shifts, that will definitely help you out a little bit more, right? You're in a downtrend. Where did we take out this downtrend? I'm glad you asked. It's right here with this candle. That was the first sign of something's changing, potentially, right? This candle, not any of these. You can argue the downtrend, the momentum shifts, but this candle put in a new high. That by definition pauses the downtrend, right? The lower high, lower low. That's all you need. A lower high and a lower low, and you're in a downtrend. So to reverse that, you got to get a higher high and a higher low. So here was our first one. Are we in an uptrend here? No. You'd have to wait for a higher low. Coincidentally, look at that trend line. We didn't even go back below that, which is also just side note, that's a good spot to enter a long after you get a crack in the ice or momentum shifting back here. Perhaps you would take a just shot at, going along, opening a long, a buy, and your stop loss would be back below this momentum line and or the low wick, which you got just after you shifted your momentum the other way. So it'd be kind of right around 92.6, somewhere in there. That would also give you some leeway for a wick, maybe down to the 50. That would have worked out very well this time. Okay, so now we have our higher low and a higher high. So by definition, this downtrend is now shifted. Even on this super short time frame, you could see something like this coming. Okay, so now we have this zone, which, if we drag this out, look at where this low wick went. After we broke out, we did a throwback to the previous breakout level area, even on this super short time frame. We wicked back right to this zone, and then trampoline bounce. That's the odds when you get these kind of moves. So now we're looking to maintain where you've been maintaining in this little bit of an uptrend. Since the new uptrend started, which was by definition kind of right here, where we had a higher low. Then we came back up, we have another higher high. By definition, we are in an uptrend on even the 1 hour chart. So where would that break? Well, you'd have to make a lower low first. So if we go back below 93.6, even on the 1 hour chart, something's possibly changing. And you can do, the inverse of this guy on, you can draw it from the top on downtrends. You want to draw from the top on an uptrend. You need to draw that from the bottom, and being mindful always, right? You want to be as precise as possible. Check yourself on closing prices, put it on line chart. Make sure you have no blue line. I just color mine blue. You can color whatever you want. No blue line below it. So if and when, even on the 1 hour chart, we start to close under this, realize that's a subtle shift of momentum back the other direction. But you're only on the 1 hour. Doesn't mean anything. It means very little. So you might be 55-45 shift back to the bears if you start to close under here. And this will drag on indefinitely, right? So it could be, as of now, if we were to nuke down here, it's 93.5, but give this, till the 12 hours from now, we could be knocking on the door 95K. Which we're still actually okay because you have this major breakout level. Watch your moving averages. Start closing below the EMA 8. You'd want to hold the 14 or the 21. The first time you do it, when you're trying to reverse a trend, it's kind of irrelevant. We were still trying to hold a higher low here. So this is not it. But once you're in a confirmed uptrend, you need to be holding the 8, the 14, or the 21, no matter what time frame you're looking at. So that's kind of tip of the day on how to spot early signs of potential reversals, just potentials on the 1 hour chart, right? That's just tidbit of the day. All right, so let's zoom out now to the 4 hour. Again, I do not like diagonal trend lines. just for momentum changes potentials. All right, now if we look at the 4 hour, like the lowest we've gone is a wick off of the 14, which what we just talked about in the 1 hour, we're still good to go here. We got a little sketchy, right? Close below, 2 closes below the EMA 8, so now you're on guard a little bit, but that was it. You're at support. One of those might hold. You could try entering along here with a stop loss just below that wick. If you entered a short back here, which you actually should be doing, right, because it's macro resistance on the higher time frames, this zone, which we'll see in a minute, you're either selling or shorting at resistance always. Anything else is you're just gambling. So if you were to open a short here, you'd be stopped out by now because your stop loss should be just above that high wick. Okay, so now you can either try again in another short higher if we get like a potential candle signal pattern, shooting star, gravestone doji, something like that. Otherwise, like uptrend is still intact and odds are higher, right? Based on this, all the moving averages are almost sorted out. We got to get above the 600. Probably will still take, I would guess, the rest of April at minimum. Maybe by early next week, we could possibly cross that 200 and the 100 over that 600. This is the big one. You got to get all these sorted out before you get your bigger moves. And if you think this is a big move, right? We haven't seen anything yet. Bitcoin it's been a long time since we've had the 4 hour chart sorted out bullish, but we're getting there. So everything looks good on the 4 hour. What would I watch for a warning back to the downside? Well, really, we should be holding like this zone, this top side, to maintain the ultra bull, like 10 out of 10 full bull mode, which we're in now. It starts to lose some of that momentum if we start to close back below, let's say 94 area. It would get real bearish in a hurry, I believe, in my opinion, if we were somehow to go back below like 92. Like if we close below that, there's no support here. We're probably going back down a good bit. High 80s, mid to high 80s, somewhere in this area. But we can look to that. I don't really anticipate that anytime over the next couple of days between now and next week. But just, watch out, right? If we can make a new lower low, like anything's possible, right? We've all seen, these numbers. So watch out for that. And if we took out that low, that would be a case to short. I mean, I think you would at least get, 4K right there out of a short. If you lose support like that, that'd be under the 21. It'd be under all three of these moving averages as well. But we're in an uptrend, so you don't want to fight the trend, right? You want to wait for the trend to reverse, and that would kind of be the spot, like 92. You start seeing prices under 92, we're not likely to hold on to that. So remember that between now and next Monday. All right. I mean, look at the breakout here, right? Bitcoin's having a nice little move here. But 6% daily candle, that's nice, but Bitcoin's capable of a lot more than that. Right? It's been a while since we've seen much over 10. What did we get back here? That was 9.5. We haven't had a 10% green candle out of Bitcoin since last year, November. We got a 10.3 right there. Like right before Thanksgiving last year is the last time we saw Bitcoin really move. But here's a big thing. Everyone that's anticipating this to hold and fail, and why it's becoming less and less likely. Because usually if you're going to reject off of a major zone, now this is a bigger zone on just the daily. The weekly and monthly is even a little bit lower. It's like 91 to 93. So we really should have hesitated already a little bit more and maybe be back down around low 90s if we were going to fail. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're starting to see some daylight in the trees, right? If you see prices anywhere closing above 98, I would expect new all-time highs very quickly, within weeks. That's pretty quick, right? And I'm saying in hours. When I say pretty quickly, sometimes in these videos, people are like, it's been 45 minutes. Where is it? But that's what I'm saying. If you see price action this weekend, could easily be above 98, but closing prices, right? You'd have to have a line chart up there above this high, high probability of new all-time highs very quickly within weeks, definitely in May. If we got a close on a daily chart, ideally I'd like to see a couple closes, right? And not just a kind of head fake, but all of this price action right here and how bearish everyone was down here calling for, I think I've saw 54, 40K, insane numbers. Here we are. On the daily chart, it looks like we're just now getting to the zone. So we could still, again, EMA 8 should be holding as bullish as this is. You wouldn't really want to see a close under the EMA 8 at this point, this early. So that's 90, just south of 91K as of today. Watch for that. And remember, here's our 4-hour pivot right here. So watch for that. The low wicks there. All right, let's zoom out to the 3-day. You can see this even on the 3-day, this looks pretty key, but like if we were still down around 90, 91, like it would be pretty obvious. Like this is a big zone here. Like look at all these lows. So we've already broken through this and closed above it, which is very impressive out of Bitcoin. Look at the EMA 8 now above all moving averages. That's usually a typical sign of things turning around and quickly. Like the last time we did that, look at that number. So what if we're right in this area and we get a little fake out down? I mean, we could rhyme with something like this. But if it happens like this again, it has to be quick. If we stall under here or we do something like this and don't instantly rebound, I mean, this is very confusing right here. Look at all the volatility. You're way down, then you have a bounce 7% up, and then you have a nuke way back down. Within like 48 hours, you're up 7 and down 8, and then rip again. Back 12, 13% another day or two later. Wild times right there. So don't fall for all that, right? You want to kind of have a, if we break out here, there's a lot at stake here, and we're at a very pivotal point where the floodgates are going to open for the bulls, or this is going to be an epic bull trap, and we're going to nuke down back lower. And what I would look for there, because we have a confirmed double bottom now on the 3-day chart, and that's a huge sign. We were talking about that for weeks now, since we kind of confirmed it right back in here, and the potential of that happening. I would look for a lot more bears to come out and play if we start to close a 3-day candle on here, right? We're looking at a possible one of these guys over here back in October. If we come down, we got to hold that. So as of now, like the worst we would want to see from current prices is about a 8-9% move. What was that candle? Let's go take a look. That was a 7.5%. Okay, so something similar to that is still okay. We don't want to invalidate this on a 3-day chart. So 87 on the 3-day. Make note, these aren't going to change, right? We don't pivot here. We're not flip-flopping. These are going to be key levels until they're not, right? Obviously, if we're at 100K next week, then this is so long, right? Remember, like the daily chart, the 3-day chart, 98K falls, that top. We're out of here. But I mean, let's keep reality in context of we're up almost 30% in less than 18 days. Odds are we hold somewhere in here. Odds are. But also, like, I expected a little bit more resistance in this zone. So the bulls are subtly gaining some strength here. And maybe not wanting to chill. All right, let's go to the weekly. It's going to look like a pretty nice candle. Right? And this looks great. This is like the little horseshoe effect that we've talked about many times. Right? We go down, consolidate, and then kind of reverse up. Ultra bullish. And I can't even tell you how bullish it would be if we close above, again, that level at the weekly close. We closed at 96,258 on this exchange. We closed at 96.3 or higher. Again, like I would expect these very soon. Definitely in May, if not early May, if this happens. We're not, we're less than $1,000 of making that happen. Keep that in mind, right? These aren't going to change. If we close above that, like, clean it up. Like, you can just, on a weekly chart, if you're just a macro investor for the long term, that should be the trigger there. If we close above that, we have plenty more upside coming. New all-time highs, highly probable if that happens. Now, we're not there yet. We could easily hold here and then, you know, bears got us, right? Surprise, roll over, right? This is still on the cards, but it's becoming, that narrative's fading day over day because we really should have held right here. Now, maybe we come up and sell over the next couple of days, right? Depending on when you watch this, right? We don't know, like, how's the Sunday close? Did it close under this low? So that is 93.7. If we close under 93.7, it's still like kind of a coin toss. If it closes above this line, it starts to edge towards the bulls. If it closes above this line, big time win for the bulls. Make no mistake. All right, that's about as concise as I can make it. Still ultra bullish on all the macro charts, as we've been saying for months, even when everyone was calling for shit down here, right? We were all talking about there's no signs of anything actually bearish here. So anyone calling for a bear market is making it up. There's no actual signs on the weekly or monthly that anything is actually wrong, right? Tap on the 50, bounce. Tap on the 50, bounce. Monthly, even better. Looks even better. Hold the EMA 8, a lot of volatility, moon rocket out. Hold the EMA 8, a lot of volatility, moon rocket out. Look at the closing prices. Nothing is odd here. There's no bear market signs in the candles. The candles are not there. I get that there's some indicators that say some bearish possibilities. Shut up. Indicators lag price. Price is king. Throw the indicators in the way back seat and tell them to buckle up and shut up. All right? Indicators should not be dictating where you're leaning. The price does that. If you're going to 12K again in Bitcoin, you got to close under the monthly EMA 8 first. Like, wake up. Stop following people on social media. Most of them are making shit up. Right? Not that I don't make shit up, but I try not to. And, you know, I have hundreds of hours of, you know, dedicated education, formal education and chart study. So, you know, and I don't ever ask you for anything. All right. So, that's that. Bitcoin looking good as ever. Monthly chart closes in 5 days. Guess where our bulls start to break the floodgates here? You don't have to even get to higher high. It's really get above resistance, which is that low close. In my book, we just closed the monthly above this guy, 93.6. And Trojan horse. Bulls got us. And enjoy the ride. And I think it's going to be an epic breakout. More along the lines of, you know, some kind of candle like that. Like this guy. Like, maybe this is the candle we have now. Maybe May does something like that. Maybe it's June. Who cares? As long as we're going up. Paradise. All right. Expect a lot of volatility here. I really wouldn't doubt if we go back to like 80, you know, high 80s before we nuke out the atmosphere. But, you know, we have a lot to watch over the next handful of days here, don't we? All right. That's that.